Every February 14th,
Today is the 14th of February, a day Rome will never forget.
millions of people around the world exchange cards, flowers, and chocolates in the name of love. But have you ever wondered why? Why do we celebrate Valentine's Day?
Valentine's Day
Saint
was
Valentine is Valentine's Day.
Valentine.
Saint Valentine is
Today is Valentine.
Who was this mysterious Saint Valentine? And how did a Christian martyr's feast day transform into a global celebration of romance worth billions of dollars? The true story of Valentine's Day is far more complex, bloody, and fascinating than the greeting card companies want you to know. Our story begins in ancient Rome during the 3rd century AD under the rule of Emperor Claudius II, known as Claudius Gothicus. Rome was constantly at war, expanding its empire and defending its borders. But Claudius faced a serious problem. He needed soldiers, strong young men willing to fight and die for Rome. But there was an issue. Roman men didn't want to leave their wives and families to go to war. Marriage made men weak, Claudius believed. A married soldier thought about his wife and children back home instead of focusing on battle. A single man had nothing to lose and everything to prove. So Emperor Claudius made a radical decision. He banned marriage for young men. No weddings, no unions, no love. If young men couldn't marry, they would have no choice but to become soldiers. It was brutal, but Claudius didn't care. The empire needed warriors, not lovers. But there was one man who refused to accept this cruel law. His name was Valentine. Father Valentine was a Christian priest serving in Rome during a time when Christianity was still illegal, and Christians were persecuted, tortured, and executed for their faith. Valentine saw the suffering of young couples who loved each other but couldn't marry. He saw their tears, their broken hearts, their desperate pleas, and he made a choice that would cost him everything. Valentine began performing secret marriage ceremonies. Late at night, in hidden chambers, by candlelight, he would join couples in holy matrimony, defying the emperor's orders. He whispered prayers, blessed rings, and united lovers who society said had no right to be together. Word spread through Rome. Young couples seeking marriage would find their way to Valentine's door. He became a symbol of hope, a defender of love against tyranny. But secrets in Rome never stayed secret for long. Emperor Claudius discovered what Valentine was doing. The priest was arrested, dragged before the emperor himself. Claudius was furious. This wasn't just disobedience, it was treason. Valentine had directly challenged imperial authority. The punishment for such crimes was always the same: death. Here's where the story takes an even more romantic turn. According to legend, while Valentine was imprisoned awaiting execution, something extraordinary happened. The jailer, a man named Asterius, had a daughter who was blind. Some versions say she was the jailer's adopted daughter. Others say she was his biological child. Asterius had heard that Valentine had performed miracles, that he had healing powers granted by his god. Desperate to help his daughter, Asterius brought her to Valentine's cell. Valentine prayed over the young girl. He placed his hands over her eyes and called upon God to restore her sight. And then, miraculously, she could see. The blind girl saw light for the first time. She saw her father's face. She saw the world. It was a miracle that changed everything. Asterius and his entire household, including 44 members of his family, converted to Christianity that day because of what they witnessed. But this miracle couldn't save Valentine from his fate. Emperor Claudius had made his decision. Valentine would die for his crimes. On February 14th, 269 AD, Valentine was executed. Before his death, Valentine wrote a letter to the jailer's daughter, the girl whose sight he had restored. He signed it, "From your Valentine." This phrase, written by a man facing death, would echo through centuries and become the most famous closing line in romance history. If you're finding this story fascinating, stay with me because it gets even more interesting. The connection between ancient pagan festivals and modern Valentine's Day will blow your mind. Valentine's execution should have been the end of the story, but instead it was just the beginning. The Catholic Church recognized Valentine as a martyr, someone who died for their faith. He became Saint Valentine, and February 14th became his feast day, a day to honor his sacrifice and his devotion to love. But here's what most people don't know. The Catholic Church actually recognizes multiple Saint Valentines. There's Valentine of Rome, the priest we've been talking about. There's also Valentine of Terni, a bishop who was also martyred. Some historians believe they might be the same person, while others think they were two different men whose stories became intertwined over centuries. The confusion doesn't end there. Some scholars question whether Valentine even existed at all. The historical records from that period are incomplete and contradictory, but whether Valentine was one man, two men, or a legendary figure who represented many Christians martyred for love, his story captured the imagination of people for centuries. Now, let's fast forward about 200 years to the late 5th century. Pope Gelasius I officially established the Feast of Saint Valentine on February 14th in 496 AD. But here's the twist. There was already a festival happening in mid-February in Rome, and it had nothing to do with Christianity or Saint Valentine. It was called Lucerliana, and it was wild. Lucerliana was an ancient Roman fertility festival celebrated from February 13th to 15th. It honored Faunus, the Roman god of agriculture, as well as the legendary founders of Rome, Romulus and Remus. The festival was chaotic, bloody, and deeply pagan. Roman priests called Luperi would sacrifice goats and a dog. Then they would cut the goat hides into strips, dip them in sacrificial blood, and run through the streets of Rome, slapping women with these bloody strips. And here's the strange part. Women welcomed this. They believed being touched by these blood-soaked strips would make them fertile and ensure easy childbirth. Lucerliana also involved a matchmaking lottery. Young women would put their names into a large urn, and young men would draw names. The couple would be paired for the duration of the festival, and often these pairings would lead to marriage. It was essentially speed dating, Roman style, with added animal sacrifice. As Christianity spread through Rome and became the official religion of the empire, church leaders wanted to eliminate these pagan festivals, but they were smart about it. Instead of simply banning Lucerliana, which would have caused resistance, they replaced it with a Christian celebration on the same date. Valentine's Day became the Christianized version of Lucerliana. The focus shifted from pagan fertility rituals to honoring a Christian martyr who represented love and devotion. But Valentine's Day as we know it, the romantic holiday with cards and flowers and chocolate, didn't emerge until much later. We need to jump forward another 1,000 years to truly understand how this transformation happened. Think about how different this is from the Valentine's Day you celebrate. We've gone from secret marriages and executions to animal sacrifices and fertility rituals. But how did we get to greeting cards and heart-shaped boxes of chocolate? Keep watching because the medieval poets are about to change everything. The transformation of Valentine's Day into a romantic holiday happened during the Middle Ages in England and France. This is when poets and writers began associating Saint Valentine's Day with romantic love. The most influential figure in this transformation was Geoffrey Chaucer, the English poet who wrote the Canterbury Tales. In 1382, Chaucer wrote a poem called The Parliament of Fowls to honor the engagement of King Richard II and Anne of Bohemia. In this poem, Chaucer wrote about birds choosing their mates on St. Valentine's Day. This was revolutionary. Chaucer connected Valentine's Day directly with romantic love and courtship for the first time in literature. Other medieval writers followed Chaucer's lead. Shakespeare mentioned Valentine's Day in Hamlet. In the play, Ophelia sings about being someone's Valentine. These literary references spread the idea that February 14th was a day for lovers. During the Middle Ages, people in England and France began celebrating Valentine's Day by exchanging handwritten notes expressing affection. Young men would draw names of young women from a bowl, and the couple would exchange gifts and wear each other's names on their sleeves for a week. This is where the expression, wearing your heart on your sleeve, comes from. The oldest known Valentine's Day message still in existence was written in 1415 by Charles, Duke of Orleans. He was imprisoned in the Tower of London after being captured at the Battle of Agincourt. From his prison cell, Charles wrote a love letter to his wife, calling her "my very gentle Valentine." The message is now kept in the British Library. Imagine writing a love letter from prison after a brutal battle. That's the kind of romantic desperation that defined early Valentine's celebrations. By the 17th and 18th centuries, Valentine's Day had become widely popular in